Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave. Happy birthday, United States. United States of America. I started to say happy birthday, America, but that's kind of saying that we have the whole continent of America, and we share that with Canada, so I guess I can't just say it that way. But happy birthday, USA, and I think I've got a program befitting a happy birthday. I've just, it says on the title that it's going to be about honeydews. Well, it's going to be a little bit about that, but mostly it's going to be about artifacts. Actually, I got some updates on some artifacts I wanted to share with you. Not so much the Native American ones, although I do have a little bit on that too that I think some of you will find very interesting. I'm using this little chair because the big chair has arms, and I didn't want to take any more risks with this guitar. Hopefully you saw that this auction guitar is out there on my website. I made a mistake in the video, and I said it's on the auction page, and it's not. It's on the shopping page. It's down at the bottom of the shopping page on my website, www.rosastringworks.com. So today, that's going to be one of the first things I try to do is put a note on that video on the screen that says it's actually on the shopping page. So anyway, I made a mistake, like usual. That seems to be the norm anymore. Let's see. I've got an original song to do with you. I know most of you have heard this, but it ties in with the artifacts. You could almost say it even ties in with the 4th of July to some degree. But you'd have to stretch your imagination a little bit for that one. It's called The Wedding Band. Sarah married John in '64. And that same year he marched off to war, leaving Sarah in the valley all alone. But that would change soon after he had gone. She washed the baby's clothes in the nearby spring. It was there she lost her precious wedding ring. Feeling more alone, she longed for his return, and the nights were long as her heart would yearn. But then 160 years passed into view, when her precious wedding band was found anew, just as if her soul were there for all to see. Sarah, John, and their baby. The war raged on as Sarah made her way. The baby grew more like John every day. She prayed that one day soon the war would end, and she'd see John coming round the bend. And despite the odds, John made his way home. And though weak and sick, Sarah would hang on, till their baby's daddy held him to his breast, allowing Sarah to find eternal rest. And then 160 years pass into view, when her precious wedding band was found anew, just as if her soul were there for all to see. Sarah, John, and their baby. Sarah, John, and their baby. One more time, this is a really nice guitar. You'd have to look pretty hard, far and few between to find one like it. It's just beautiful too. It's got just such beautiful wood in it. This is out of the custom shop. This is not your standard off the rack 00018. So you should know that. And if you're comparing prices to the other 00018s you see out there, you have to keep that in mind, that this isn't the same exact caliber quality. A lot of those are just your standard model. This one sold for well over $3,000. I think around $3,500 when he got it new. And it's up in really super good shape, except for the little tiny dent that I put on it, which still drives me crazy. I'm going to lay it down on this very soft carpet here. And let's see, moving on from there. That song, most of you already know this, but there's always new people. And that song was written about the artifacts that I found back here on my farm. No one, well, at least in the modern times, no one knew that there had been two old houses back on the farm. And I found an old map. The map was dated 1912, I think. And it had two dots on there, and the dots always represent where houses are back on those old maps. They put a little square wherever a house would be, and sometimes where a barn is too, but mostly it's usually where the houses are. And anyway, I saw two squares back there, and I said, well, heck, that means there were two houses back there. So sure enough, I go back there, start looking around, and I started finding artifacts like crazy. The reason there was no sign of it was that the guy that owned the property in the 40s had it all bulldozed, and he had the hillsides cleaned off and then terraced, and they made big terraces so for the erosion, for water coming down the hill, the terraces would catch the water and run it off. Well, anyway, all that ground had changed, and so you couldn't see any evidence that there were houses there. And basically, the bulldozer smeared whatever evidence there was all over the place. And that's why I'm finding stuff everywhere out there. But, I found little toys. I found a lot of Civil War stuff. I found just your regular old homestead stuff. And I found her wedding band in that spring. One of the first things I found, actually, was the wedding band down in the spring. And it was about 18 inches down. So based on all the clues of the things I had found, I put that song together. So with that theme in mind, I'm gonna and by the way, I asked for your all's help on writing that song. I said, feed me some lines. Think of and a couple of lines that I remember that I incorporated is that are nights were long as her heart would yearn. That was somebody's line that they gave to me, and I put that in the song. There was probably one or two other lines like that. So I'm going to ask for your help again. I'm trying to write another song. And this one was this song title came from Bo Horn, a friend down in Mountain View. And Bo asked me to write a song. He says, can you write a song about when the bluebird sings the blues, times are bad? Or something along those lines, anyway, is the title that he threw to me. So my idea is for you all to throw me some lines. If you've got some lines, I'm kind of getting stumped on this one. Sometimes I just take it and run with it. But sometimes I just kind of run into roadblocks. It's that old writer's block thing, I guess it is. So if you've got any lines you want to throw at me for about times being bad and the bluebird singing the blues or anything like that you think would tie into a song like that, throw those lines out. If you don't want to throw them out here today, send me an email. And we'll see if we can write a song around that. You notice that the mandolin lesson is not going to be tonight, I hope. Yesterday I put it out there that it's going to be Friday night at 7 o'clock, so it'll be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. This is the lesson where for sure the rubber meets the road. This is the one where you're going to start learning some stuff, and I really think you'll enjoy this lesson the most of the two we've had so far. This will be the one that I think you'll really get something out of. I don't want to build it up too much, but I really do think this is the one that you'll enjoy. So be there for tomorrow night, 7 o'clock p.m. We are going back to Mountain View October 17th, 18th, and 19th. So if you want to make reservations to come down there then, that would be great. Mountain View, Arkansas, October 17th, 18th, and 19th. The other news, this coming Monday, we are getting our new internet connection up here at the house. So in other words, we're just reversing what's happened. We've got the internet connection down at the shop. We're going to move it up here to the house, and then I'm going to pipe the internet down to the shop. And rather, I could just leave both connections, but I'd be paying $100 a month for each one of them. and I don't need it to be lightning fast in both places. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. Let's see. Moving on down. I've got a little video this morning that I just took out there very quickly, so I'll show that to you right now. My brother Scott called or sent me a note and said that he was going to come down Friday and bring some logs to saw in the sawmill. So I'm going to have to get this thing ready today also and get it ready to saw. Sue dragged this thing over here in the way, which is a pain. Now I've got to drag it out of the way because you can't load the logs. You can load them from this side, but it's not very good because the stops are on this side. You need the stops on this side rather than that side because the blade is pulling everything this way. So, I mean, you can do it from here, but it's really awkward. We need to load them from that side, so that thing needs to get out of the way. So, what a pain. But that needs to get back on the dump truck. That's just yet another project I've got to get finished. I also need to saw those cedar logs up, so it'll be a perfect opportunity to get those sawed up because I do need a lot more lumber to finish the water wheel house down there. Of course, I should have sawed them up a long time ago so they could have been drying, but, you know, it just is what it is. Got way too much to do and way too little of me to go around. But it is a beautiful place out here today. Just the scenery looks nice. It's an overcast cloud. Looks good on video here, better than it does in real life. It looks more gray in real life, I think, than it does on the screen here. But looks like it could rain. In fact, I don't see any dew on the Ranger here, so it's very likely it will. Though I don't know if the Ranger was under a tree or not. I didn't pay attention where I had it parked. So, but right now I'd say it's going to rain. Yeah, listen to me talk about the colors there, that it looks more gray. I don't know. It looked more dull in real life than it did on the screen. It looked more vibrant on the screen to me. But anyway, the other thing is, you know, I've been talking about the Ranger and all its different woes and things. Right now, it seems to be doing really well. I shouldn't say that out loud, but it does. And the gas gauge worked out really, really well. I put gas back in it yesterday. The needle was right on the E line, and I could tell it was running out. I mean, the thing was sputtering as I was going down the road, you know, because the gas would slosh around in there. And so I went ahead and filled it back up. So I feel like I've got a perfect gas gauge now, which is something I should have done 15 years ago. But, you know, better late than never, I guess. Anyway, let's see. I've got this this first little artifact thing here is a photo, and it's you've heard me say that I found a Native American grave on the farm, and it's been a while since I've shown this, so I thought I'd just show it again. Here it is. This is just a big open field area that's up on a high kind of a hill. It's in between three creeks, basically, and it's just kind of a plateau, and there's very little rock in this area. As you can probably tell from the ground around there, it's pretty much just dirt. It's about the only place on the farm that you just don't hit a rock every time you stick a knife in the ground, you know. And I was plowing this up again. This was in the early days when I didn't really know what we had here. I had just started finding a few little artifacts. And when I plowed, that big flat rock there to the left is the one that I plowed up with the plow, and it popped up out of the dirt. And my daughter, Rochelle, just happened to be riding by on a four-wheeler at the moment, and I said to her, I said, Rochelle, you're not going to believe this, but there's a Native American buried under that rock. She's going, oh, yeah, right, Dad, sure. In fact, the rock wasn't exposed like you see it there. I mean, it was still half buried in the dirt. And I think I have a photo of that somewhere because I was that sure of it. I took a photo before I even started digging because I was that sure it was going to be a Native American grave. Because those of you who don't know, I belong to the St. Louis Archaeological Society for many years, like 10 or 12 years. I wasn't an active member. I just received all their publications and all that stuff, and I was a total silent member, like many of our silent vloggers here, that never comment. In fact, I hear from them every once in a while. I watch your vlogs every day. I just never comment. Well, I want to encourage those people to start commenting. Do that. In fact, I'd like to hear from you today. Put a comment in there if you've never commented before. But anyway, that's a side issue. But so anyway, when I saw that rock there, I said to her that there was a Native American under it, and she said, "No way, Daddy," and she just thought I was stupid. I said, "Well, let's just dig it and see." And she said, "Let's dig it up and see." And I said, "Well, I won't dig a grave, but I said we'll uncover the other rocks and see if there is something there." Sure enough, as we started uncovering it, you can see there that the rocks are laid up really tight, and they covered over the grave. And if you want to know why they did that for a number of reasons. I guess as a marker, would be one reason, but primarily they did it to keep the animals from digging them up. Because, back then, you got to remember, they didn't have steel shovels. They didn't dig a very deep grave. The grave was probably no more than 2 feet deep. And then they throw the dirt over it, and then they lay the rocks on the top of it to keep the wolves and coyotes from digging it up, And anyway, at least that's my take on it. I just thought you might be interested to see that, and I did register that with the state. And the rest of the story is really sad, and I've told this before too. But I was showing that. After we discovered it, I was showing it just a few days later to one of my neighbors who is into kind of like welding art. He would make sculptures with welders and stuff, and make Native Americans and cowboy scenes and things like that. And his wife painted Native American photos and things, pictures. And anyway, I was showing them what we had found there, and they were just enthralled by it, and it was on a Sunday afternoon. It was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, if I remember correctly, and it looked like it was going to start pouring rain any minute. I mean, you could hear the thunder. It just looked like it was coming, and it got real dark and everything. So we said, we better get out of here. So we took off. Well, it rained. Not only did it rain then, but it rained for like 2 more days straight. And then on Wednesday was the first dry day. Well, I was in the shop working on instruments, and Sue walks in and she says, "Did you dig that grave?" And I said, "Well, no, of course I didn't dig the grave." And she said, "Well, somebody dug that grave." And I couldn't believe it. And sure enough, somebody snuck in and dug the grave, and they dug it before the rain hit because it was too muddy. You would have seen tracks and things. You would have seen stuff in the mud, if they had dug it after it rained. They dug it before the rain. So in other words, they were watching us while we were down there talking about it. They were probably sitting up in the woods waiting for us to leave, and as soon as we left, they ran down there and dug it up. I'm just glad I didn't catch them. And that's probably all you need to know. Moving on here, let's see. I've got a bunch of homestead artifacts that ties in with the song. By the way, here's another picture of that grave that's probably a little better picture. It shows it a little bit better how tightly they had it laid up, the rock. I think this is actually a better picture than the other one. I couldn't find this one on the computer, though. But you can see there. And by the way, this, it's backwards to me. That rock right there has a dish in it. So before they used it for the grave, they were grinding corn on that one. It has a dished out place, or grinding something in it. I say corn. It probably wasn't corn. It was probably just something else. All right, so I've got my little artifact tray here. I'm going to hold it up and show you some of the stuff. I'm hoping you'll be able to see it. I know this isn't the ideal way to do this, but this was one of the coolest things we found. Can you see? I think you can. I think you can. The light coming in from the side helps see it. Lets you see it, I think. It's Anheuser-Busch. And this is from the 1880s. And it used to go together like this. It was a matchbox. And it held, wooden matches. And I'm sure they gave this away to when you bought their products or something. It was probably some kind of a giveaway. But what you can't see on screen, and you really can't even see it right here, right now, without a microscope, is that it says malt nutrine. And it says for health, vigor, and appetite. So I look all this up, and sure enough, I find exact pictures of this thing on the internet. And malt nutrine was a low alcohol beverage. Guess who they marketed it to? Pregnant women. It was marketed to pregnant women. A low alcohol beverage, malt nutrine, for health, vigor, and appetite. I thought that was pretty darn interesting. Of course, we find tons of things like this. These are like suspender clips and things. We find lots of this stuff. Again, whether they belonged to the farmers or the Civil War people, it's hard to say on this. But I'm just calling them farm finds, if you will. Here's a hair barrette, that's what I'm calling it. I don't even know if barrette is the right word, but a hair clip of some sort. It's got you can see the holes through there where you would put a long needle through there. And it's been washed with silver at one point in time. It's hard to see it, but there's a design on it too, scrolled in there. So it's got fancy design scrolled into it, and it was probably silver at one time. And I'm assuming that it was something like they would put on the back of their hair to keep their hair together, or possibly something that they would wear on their collar, brooch type thing. These are two things that Sue just seems to be fascinated with. I don't know exactly why, but they're cool. They're neat. They got fancy designs on them too. You can probably see there a little bit. And if you don't know what they are, these are, I don't know, better word than a line hanger. They're hangers for pictures, basically, and they had a special type molding where these would clip onto the molding, and then you could slide your picture on the wall anywhere you wanted. The other way they used them is that they would string a wire across the room, across the wall, and then you could hang your picture on that wire pretty much anywhere you wanted and slide it around. And but anyway, they're fancy type stuff. I thought that, back in the olden days, they did things different. I've shown these before, but these are boot heels that I've found. I think this one's pretty cool. It's pretty well wore out, and you can see the design in it. And this one I think this may have been on a lady's boot heel, is what I think it is. I think it's too small for a man's heel. And this one was probably a man's heel. I don't really know for sure. Some of you will know exactly what this is, and some of you will have no idea. This is another, generally speaking, it's more in the ladies' line than it is on the men's, and that would be that it is what they refer to as a hem weight. It was a weight, it's lead, and you can see the oxidation, it's turned kind of white. They would sew these into the hems of the long dresses to keep the dresses from blowing up in the winds. They would also put these in curtains, so it's possible that this was a curtain weight, but I would say it was probably a hem weight. This is the one that you all identified for me that and somebody said what it was, and I said, there ain't no way that's what this is. And sure enough, I look it up, and that's what it is. I was totally blown away when you told me what this really is. Now, when you see this, you're going to first think it's some sort of a tube. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not a squeeze tube of any type. First of all, the metal's too strong for that. And second of all, it doesn't have a hole in the end. So that's what it looks like, though. It looks like a squeeze tube, but that's not what it is. It's got nothing to do with a squeeze tube. I'll tell you where the biggest clue is. If you can see the holes there going up that one edge, there's little holes. I'm trying to turn it where the light shows the holes better. They're very small, and it's been clamped together so the holes don't show up very good. But anyway, those holes, the bottom hole says 50. The next one says 100. The next one's 2, and then 250, and 3, 350, 4, 450, up to 5. It's a dime bank. They held dimes in these. Now, I don't know exactly the whole way it was made. I saw it online, and, the picture just was from one edge, one side, and you couldn't tell exactly how it was made and what held the dimes in and all that. But there was something. I would say there was some spring mechanism or something that held the dimes in there. But you could see through the holes when you had $5 worth of dimes, And somebody told me that's what this was when they saw it on the, I showed this a long time ago, a year ago, or maybe longer than that. And they said, that's a dime bank. And I went, there's no way. But that's what it is. And let's see. I don't know. I found lots of other stuff. Again, lots more of the suspender clips, things like that. Found lots of lantern parts. In fact, a whole lot of lantern parts. Here's one here, here's one here, and here's one here. And then I think there's other little parts of other ones here that are less recognizable. This is a hubcap off of a, I don't know, I believe it was a Model A. Ford, I think it was. I just found this back there fairly recently. They lived back there from the at least 1880s up through, about the 1920s or 30s, somewhere in there. And then I think it was gone after that. Possibly they lived there during the Civil War. And, I don't know if they did or didn't. But I kind of think they may have actually lived there. On the one older house, I think they may have lived there during the Civil War, too. Again, I tied it to the Civil War because of all the Civil War relics I found. And I'll show you those here in a minute. This is a bit. We call them work bits. A lot of people call them snaffle bits these days. But my dad always just called it a work bit. It was typically a workhorse wore this type of bit, and this, one leather strap would go over the top of their head, another leather would go to the reins, and another leather would go under the chin. Anyway, this looks to me like it's a handmade one too. At least it looks that way to me. It looks like it was homemade, wire twisted. All that. Found lots of old silverware, and this one's the only one of really any notoriety. This one is nickel silver, and I forget the name of the company on this now, but anyway, it was around 1912, so it's pretty cool. The other ones are maybe a lot older, like this one here. It looks like it was pewter in places, is what it looks like to me. And anyway, let's see. Trying to find some more of the better stuff here. Found 2 old pocket knives that are very old. I mean, these are probably late 1800s. It's possible. Well, I think this is probably late 1800s also. This one's possibly early 1900s. With this type of plastic. This is that celluloid type plastic that they made, movies out of and stuff. This one is all wood on the sides, the scales and everything. I think this one's probably older than this one, but I don't know for sure. Then the obligatory, you find these every old place. Anything that's in the 1800s to early 1920s, you're going to find these. And what are they? Harmonica reeds. Just tons of pieces here. Just absolutely tons of pieces. They don't all match, so they're like from different harmonicas for the most part. And then here's 2 of the larger reeds that we found. But you find these things everywhere. It's amazing to me how many of them you find. In fact, it's really amazing. The Civil War stuff here. First of all, before we actually get into the Civil War, have you ever seen a shotgun shell that was solid brass? In other words, instead of having a plastic end or a paper end, it's solid brass, the whole thing. Well, there you go. And this was pre-1890, black powder shotgun shell, and of course it's in bad shape, but it was the first one that you could hand load, or reload, I should say. These are not terribly old. These are probably from the 40s or somewhere in there, and that is, we found a whole bunch of these tags for cows. This was a cattle ranch. And I found one that even has the chain on it still. Don't have that one here, but anyway, found a lot of those. And I'm saving the Civil War for last. Let me show you some more things. Well, for instance, the wedding ring. And let me find that here. Here we go. This one was the first one I found, and you can't really see it very good, and you couldn't see it if I had it out of the plastic anyway, so I'm not going to bother. But if you look under a microscope, this one can still see some little tiny flecks of gold where it was gold plated. It's again, probably nickel, silver, gold plated type thing, or copper or brass, I'm not sure. And then later I found this ring. And this is missing the stone. I found this one, I think I found at the oldest house. This is why I wrote the song and based it on the Civil War, because this one I think is much older. Then I found this one at the quote-unquote newer house that I think was there late 1800s and early 1900s primarily. And then, yet I found a third one. And I found this one out in the field, kind of below where I found this one. So I'm wondering if this gal didn't just take these rings and chuck them. I don't have any idea. But this one I found way down in the field. Of course, it very easily, the bulldozers moved all this stuff around. It could easily have been the bulldozers. And this one was crushed really badly, the first one I found, and I opened it up, and all of them are size 7, though, which I thought was kind of unique. If you remember, I said there were 2 houses back there, so, they weren't that far apart. So what I started thinking about was, obviously, they would have known each other, being that close together, and probably were even related. And my guess is that they were walking between those 2 houses all the time. So under that hypothesis, I just looked and tried to figure out what I thought the best route would be to walk, Of course, again, the bulldozers have been through, so there's no telling. But anyway, I started walking there, and I got just about exactly halfway between the 2 houses. And I found this old dime. And I better take this one out. I think you'll like to see this one, if I can get it out. Yeah. This thing is pristine. I mean, it looks like it's brand new. I don't know if the camera will focus on it or not. It's not going to focus, of course not. Why would it? Yeah, you probably can't see it very well. And, whoops, that didn't help nothing. See, I tell you, I can't hang on to nothing anymore. And that's just the truth. And anyway, it's a 1905 Barber dime. That's the backside. And that was about halfway between the 2 houses, out in the middle of the field. So I thought that was pretty cool. So, of course, that inspired a frenzy. I thought, well, for sure I'll find a whole bunch more, but I didn't. Anyway, I'm trying to put this away, but I guess I'll put that away later. All right, so let's go into, let me just hold up this thing here. Now, this is stuff that I suspect could be Civil War, but I don't know that for sure. This here, I think, may be a saddle concho or something, which may or may not have anything to do with Civil War. If you guys remember that weird bullet that I was asking for help with, this is that piece that comes out of the bullet here. It fits this bullet perfectly, and that's how it probably looked. And this is an old bullet. This is turn of the century for sure. It's not, Civil War old, but it's at least turn of the century type thing. All right, so the rest of this in here potentially could be Civil War. Well, not everything. Like, well, yeah, this too. This potentially could be one of those big mini balls that's been squished and flattened out. And then there's lots of round balls in there and stuff. And so this is all just stuff that I can't really identify for sure. Like, for instance, this piece here. I don't know what that was. This looks to me like it could have been something for a knapsack to hang on or something like that. There's just old pieces of brass stuff. Like this could have been the end of a brass scabbard, or, the brass piece on the end of a scabbard or something. I just don't know. You never know what it is. So, and then, like I said, most of it's lead bullets, round balls and things like that. Now, here is the stuff that I do know is Civil War. So I'm going to show you that. This, this was probably the least the most questionable one of the things I'm going to show you now. This one here, I can't prove it, but I would say for sure that this is a primer cup for holding primers for the muzzle loaders that were primer fired, if you will, not like flintlock. And most of the stuff that they had in the Civil War was fired with a primer. It wasn't fired with a flint. So anyway, I think this probably held the primers. The rest of this is absolutely black and white. This is a 69 caliber mini ball that's been crushed pretty badly. This was the first Civil War bullet I found, and it's huge. It's heavy. If this thing hits you in the leg, that's why they always took the amputation route. They never bothered trying to save anything. Trust me, if you could feel how heavy this is, and it's coming at you at 1,700 feet per second, if it hits you in the leg, your leg's coming off. You're not going to have any part of it left. This is a Civil War Union cavalry spur piece. It's just a piece. It's broken. These two are the coolest two bullets I found. These are Fitch Van Vecht cartridges. They're rimfire cartridges, Fitch Van Vecht. They were only made around 1864, roughly. I mean, that's, give or take a little bit. These are, some more mini balls. This one, I did know what the term was for them. This one's a 58 or 59 caliber. I think 58 caliber is what it is. This one is a 58, but this one's been chewed by rodents, I think. Now, the myth is that the soldiers chewed down on them when they were having their legs amputated and things like that, or their arm amputated. But the truth is, the bullets are way harder than you think they are. I mean, lead is still pretty darn hard, and if you bite down on it, you're going to break your teeth. These, by the way, these tooth marks are so small, I can almost guarantee you they were from rodents. Probably, field rats and maybe, a mole or something like that. Here again is another smashed Civil War bullet. It's a 3-ringer again. There you can see the rings, I think. This hit something. Hopefully it wasn't a leg. This is another one that hit something for sure. And again, hopefully it wasn't a person. But boy, it definitely flattened out. This one, I almost think they made this one into a game piece. I found this one, and I couldn't tell what it was for sure, but if you look there are the 3 rings going across the end there. And they flattened this one out. They cut this one out, and sometimes they played checkers with these bullets. They would, make pieces, and maybe they'd make square pieces and round pieces for their checkers. Here's the last one. This one, I think I get it mixed up. I can't remember if this is a Sharps or an Enfield, but it's a different style bullet. This actually did go in the end of one of these, I believe. I think that's where it went. I'm not 100% sure of that either, but I think that's where this went. And then finally, and probably one of the very best finds is this, and that is a Civil War coat button. It's a Union General Service coat button. It's got the eagle on it. I don't know if you can actually see the eagle there. I think you can. Trying to get it in the light where the light would reflect on it a little better. But Anyway, that pretty much is all the Civil War stuff, and we know for sure that that stuff is Civil War. That you can look it up online, and it looks exactly like the other pictures of the Civil War stuff. It's not similar; it's exactly the same. And let's see, I think that's pretty much it. Here's some more modern finds. I'll just show you a couple things real quick. But I thought these were kind of interesting. We have some old photos of people on this farm riding English style, dressed in their suits and everything. They were, like fox hunter style, real, uppity type dress and riding these fancy horses. And I found these things out in the field. And ladies were involved in that too. So the ladies were out there riding, and we've got pictures of them. And here's a ladies' compact that I found out in the field. It's even still got powder in it. And then here's I think a lipstick. Again, right out in the middle of the field. And we've got one photo that's taken almost where I found that stuff, almost exactly where I found that stuff, in fact. And you can tell by the hills and the trees that are around that it was taken in that spot. And it's very likely or possible that they were dolling themselves up, dropped it while they were, getting ready for the photo or whatever. It's very possible. Anyway, that's everything. And I bet you some of you are already asleep or have gone on to other things. Let's go through the comments as quick as we can here. David Tharp was the first one, and then he's got some question marks down there. It says, I need everyone to wish me luck. I have a meeting at the bank later, and if all goes well, I'll be out of debt. I'm so excited I can barely put on my ski mask. David Tharp. My wife said, I feel fat. Tell me something that will lift me up. I said, a forklift. Follow me for more marital advice. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Oh, by the way, today, that's the honeydew thing, is I have to work on Sue's lawn tractor. And when I say Sue's lawn tractor, I do mean Sue's lawn tractor. I never drive it. She drives it all the time. And in fact, I give it to her as a Christmas present back around 2001, something like that. And she really likes her tractor. So she's upset that it's not running real good right now. So Bruce, my friend from Mississippi that we'll be down in Mountain View with in October again, Bruce said that he had a Kawasaki motor like that, and he said it's the valve adjustments that causes that. Well, I've heard that before somewhere, and so I'm going to look at that again, or I'm going to look at that today, and I don't think it's hard to adjust the valves on this type of engine. So that'll be the first thing I check out to see if there's a valve problem. Moving on down, let's see, David Tharp. Yesterday at McDonald's, I ate a kid's Happy Meal. Oh boy, his mother really got mad at me. Let's see. Looking for question mark. Gary Hayden. Jerry, I played around with your new hidden Windows feature and discovered that you can capture YouTube videos with it as well. Well, I didn't know that. It saves the capture in MP4 format. Did you know that? No, I had no clue. I'm not even sure how it could do that. That's amazing. Like, you mean like the whole video or just a clip that while you're watching it? That's pretty cool. I'll have to play with that. That's really cool. Let's see, David Tharp. At the restaurant, the waitress said, I see your glass is empty. Would you like another? Why would I want two empty glasses? Sometimes it's that dumb. Sometimes it is that dumb. You really have to explain it better. It really is sometimes that dumb. It's pitiful sometimes. Bill Mumbo. Happy 4th of July to all you colonials from the old country across the pond. Play nicely, folks. We're having an election ourselves. I'm voting for what I consider the least worst. Enough said. The least worst. Enough said. Yeah. Well, ditto big time. Oh my gosh. I've never been more disappointed in the choices that we have than I am this year, I think. It's pretty bad. Anyway. Probably first of all, they're probably both too old to be doing what they're doing. I feel like I'm too old to be doing that job anymore. And I'm younger than those guys. Yeah. Anyway. Dottie's asking how the movie star is. Carolyn Fike. Yeah, Carolyn, you're going to have to fill us all in on your movie exploits. Moving on down. Bill Mumbo. Carolyn, it's just as crazy your upcoming bun fight. You can't rely on anything except for... I'm going to have to pass on that one. I can't quite make it out. Looks like they're having private conversations, so I'm just going to pass on all that. Moving on down. After we went live, Bill Mumbo, there's 40 waiting, but 25 of you haven't smashed the old thumbs up. Well, please do that. Looks like we have 149 right now. Again, those of you who have never commented, make a comment. Just say something. Hopefully it's something nice. James Copy, my dog is a Texas Lacey and is just a little younger than Sadie. She might be part Velociraptor. Her name is Blue Ruby. Sadie's in the doghouse, so to speak. No pun intended. She killed one of Sue's ducks yesterday. That went over like a lead balloon. Big time. Sue loved her 2 ducks, and you saw me have to do chores the other day and turn them loose. Well, anyway. Outboard Tinkerer 62 says, hi, Jerry. Can wooden dents be filled with clear, buffed and sanded with spray or squeegee applied? Yeah, I mean, you can. It depends on the dent. If the dent is under finish, again, I'm not the best finish person. I'll just be honest with you. If the dent is, like if there's finish on top of the dent, you got to be careful because you get stuff under that and it'll bleed in and get under the finish and make a mess. And then you got to sand the whole area out. So if it's not got finish on it, then what I recommend is you dampen it down first, put a damp cloth over it, and then take like an iron or something hot and work it around over the top of that, on top of that wet rag, and you take that iron and you make the steam, and steam will pull the dent out of the wood. Some people do that with a finish on. I don't necessarily recommend you do that when there's a finish on there. It can backfire on you big time. But yeah, you can just fill it with clear. In a case like that, you're going to need something that fills because most of your finishes will suck down in the crack and they'll actually make it look worse, really. So to me, if you're going to fill it, then my suggestion is probably CA glue to fill it. That's my suggestion. Let's see. Bruce Moore. The blues are over when bluebirds sing. I don't think we should blame the blues on the bluebirds, on the birds. Okay? We didn't say we were blaming them, I don't think. I think what we said was, times are hard when bluebirds are singing the blues. And I think times are hard right now. That's what I think. Gotta fly Lee. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Hard to believe that I have watched most all of the 500 vlogs. I remember when you started doing them. Thanks for all you do, have shared over the past years. Thank you. Well, you're welcome. I appreciate that. Moving on down. Looking for question marks. Dottie says, how sick do you have to be to dig up a grave? No respect. Too bad you could not have caught them. Trust me, had I caught them, things would have happened. That's all I can tell you. Oh, it would have been bad. I'm serious. I was so mad after I found out. I know it sounds like an exaggeration, but I'm not exaggerating. I could barely talk for 3 days. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I was so mad. I couldn't even hardly stand it. I was so mad I couldn't hardly do anything for like 3 days. It took me like 3 days to kind of cool off. If I'd have caught them, it'd have been real ugly. Oh, trust me, it would have been ugly. Somebody might have died. Bill Webb, that's so when you hold it in your hand and hit somebody, your dimes don't go flying everywhere. Yeah, it could be. Hey, you straightened out the hubcap. It looks really nice. Yeah, I did try to straighten it out. I thought, well, it's of no value dented up like it was. So I did try to straighten it out. It was pretty bad. Yeah, it was pretty smashed. And so, in fact, it was really smashed. But it ain't perfect. A guy that's a good, that would take some time with it, you could easily get the rest of those little dents out and creases out, and you could make it look almost new, especially if you buffed it out. So if somebody really needs that for a restoration, but don't just tell me you need it to hang it in your man cave. I don't want to sit and I wouldn't give it away for that. But if you absolutely, really, really need one for a restoration, I would part with it. Let's see. Gary Hayes, West Virginia Hillbilly, another Rosa super song. Great song, Jerry. Thank you. Nice Martin. Yeah, it is a really nice Martin, guys. You will be happy if you get that Martin. You will. It's a good one. It really is. Gary knows a lot about guitars in terms of playing them and the sound and everything. So if he paid that kind of money for it, it's a good one. He picked it out because it sounded that good. David Tharp, a man asked me for $1. I said, sorry, I only carry big bills. He said, well, give me one of those. So I gave him my electric bill. Bill Mumbo, when the bluebirds sing the blues, there's nothing left to lose. Get out your walking shoes, walk away from those blues. Well, that's some good lines there, Bill. Thanks. I'll keep those in mind. Yeah. Yeah, as Bill says, less than 50% have hit the thumbs up button. So if you would, please just do that. Kim Williford, happy 4th of July, Jerry and family and everyone. Well, thank you. And to everyone, I say the same. Gary Hayes, West Virginia Hillbilly, can you hear the bluebirds sounding lonesome? I don't think they should sound that way. Well, that's a good line. Dottie Hildebrand, I always saw on movies they always bit down on knives for taking bullets out of people. Yeah, I've seen them bite down on a branch, a limb or something. Now, a branch makes more sense. But biting down on metal, lead or steel or anything doesn't make any sense at all. Because about the time they cut your leg off, you're going to bite down pretty hard and you're going to break your teeth. And plus a bullet doesn't make sense because you'd swallow it in the pain and the agony and everything, and that wouldn't be helping your cause either. So most of that's a myth. I mean, it really is a myth. Biting down on a branch would be the best of those three choices. I'm not saying it's a good choice. It's better than those three. In fact, I don't think you'd have to bite down anything. I think you'd just better off if you just scream your head off because it's going to hurt really bad. Jeff Puris reminds me of the little Jimmy Dickens tune, May the Bird of Paradise Fly Up Your Nose. Yep. Brian Biscup, good morning, Brian Biscup from Elgin, Illinois. Well, Brian, I don't know if I've seen your name before. I think I have, from Elgin, Illinois. But I don't see anybody else just jumping in here making comments that haven't made comments. There's 140-some viewers. I'm sure there's people out there that have never made a comment. You ought to try that. Of course, if you're watching on a smartphone, on a smart TV, it's hard to do it because you have to go to a different machine to really make the comment. You can see the comments on the smart TVs, but it's hard to make a comment that way. Let's see. Gary Hayden, I captured a 2-hour video with the snippet tool. It took 2 hours to capture it. Well, I'll be darned. I would never even thought to try that. That's amazing. The freeze. I'm putting you in the right ballot, Jerry. Write-in ballot. Well, thanks. I couldn't do any worse than they're doing. I mean, it's pitiful. At least it would be, whatever my mistakes would be, they'd be honest mistakes. There would be no under-the-table dealings and crap like that. The first thing I'd do as a politician is the first guy that came to me with an under-the-table deal, I'd go straight to the news. That's why I wouldn't be a politician very long, because I'd rat them out the instant they did it. There's no way I'd put up with that crap. John Faust, I've been watching for a long time. Hi, Jerry. Well, good that you made a comment there, John. Larry Fisher, if you like to be around people, you are an extrovert. If you don't like people, you are an introvert. If you like to be around cats, does that make you... I'm going to leave that one off there. I'm going to leave that word off. But yeah, it might actually make you that. I don't know. Bill Webb, I can't comment on my TV, so I comment on the phone, but watch on the big screen. Yeah, that's what you have to do, kind of. You have your smartphone there or something. All right, I use my tablet's what I do. Bill Mumbo, may an elephant caress you with their toes. May your wife be plagued with ladders in her house. Okay. I think there's another, I remember something like that being on the Johnny Carson show. Somebody said something like that. I don't remember how that went. Anyway, Ronald Todd, comment, happy 4th of July. Yes. And then Larry Atkins, never blame others for the road you're on. It's your own asphalt. Yeah. You got me on that one. Yeah. Anyway, guys, it's. I think we're at the end. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the support. Be sure to mark your calendars or your reminders or whatever you need to mark for tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock. We'll have that lesson. I'm 99.9% sure you're going to like this particular lesson. It's going to open up your eyes, and you're going to see music a little differently, I think, or at least you'll start to see it a little differently tomorrow night versus maybe the way you've thought about it in the past. So anyway, that's the promise I'm trying to make. I hope I can keep my promise. We'll see you then. Thank you so much.